We're going to talk about our farmers. Tell you what, I love doing this because we take the ag world for granted, but really our economy here in the heartland, it is so driven by agriculture, and the farmer's best friend is Lighthouse Commodities for a long time. They do professional merchandising for your farm, give you that edge in a tough time, and David Spickler is back with us to talk about that. How are you doing, David?
I'm good. A little windswept, but good here in Bismarck.
Yeah, exactly. We're just starting to get the snow here. I guess it's pretty much everywhere else, north and south of 94, but hasn't quite hit Fargo yet, but I see the snowflakes are coming. Let's start a little bit with what's happened. We've been having these conversations, so we have a good little benchmark on sort of what you expected and have talked about here on the air, like things like beans dropping sharply, which they did, and lower than before. The China news, obviously. Talk about what's happened a little bit.
Yeah, so if you look at the last two and a half weeks here, we had rallied on this China news, and mostly just on that China news. We had hit sell signals on our algos. We had some pretty ominous signs that beans were going to correct. They've done that now over the last 2 weeks, just like we talked about. You're back to the scene of the crime now on soybeans. You're back to where you started just before the initial China news broke, and we rallied on that. You don't necessarily, at this point, we'd like to see beans stabilize here. You've traded now some of the news that came out. The Chinese shipments have been slower than expected and maybe a little bit less than expected. We were catching up on this government data that we were missing during the shutdown and found out managed money, the speculator, the buyers and sellers of grain, bought way more beans on this rally than we thought. So we've had to digest that over the last couple of weeks, and you have extremely favorable South American weather. So you've incorporated a lot of this bearish news. We're back to the scene of the crime. We achieved our chart objective. It's not terribly surprising what happened the last couple of weeks. Now we want to see beans start to stabilize, and with it stabilizing corn and wheat. Yeah.
So fair to say on the bean crush numbers, disappointing there, but right?
Yeah, so you had a little bit of a disappointing versus expectations number on crush. That's following 3 months of record crush. You're still sitting okay overall on crush here on domestic use for beans, but it didn't help when you had these other stories in the narrative already leaning bearish. It just added one more stoke to the fire, and so that's helped push us down. But overall, we're back to a price that seems fair value with the demand that we do know. And while this is happening, it does look like China is going to take their 12 million metric tons. They're about 3/4 of the way through those purchase commitments. So we're back to a level now where price really shouldn't correct a lot lower in the short term.
So you use a proprietary algorithm that sort of helps, it doesn't sort of help, it does help us determine what's next. Talk about what comes next in your mind.
Yeah, so I think what's most likely, you have a strong seasonal on soybeans here. Our proprietary algos are saying we're at a buy signal. It would be good to likely see at least about a third to half of this correction get recovered at some point in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And with it, corn should hang out where it is, and wheat should have a small amount of bounce here. We're in the holidays. The trade gets light and gets illiquid, and then you have huge January reports looming 3 weeks or so from now. But so a lot will still rewrite the script. But based on what we know today, we should see beans claw back at least half or so of these recent losses, is what we would expect based on what we know today.
How about corn?
So corn's actually kind of just been a bystander. Corn's fundamentals are a lot solider. They have huge demand on corn despite the large crop, and your global corn balance sheet's way more compelling than beans. So we're dealing with a big crop locally, but a tighter world supply, strong demand. Corn hasn't really rallied with beans. It didn't fall with beans. We think corn stays in this same range, probably in the same roughly 20-cent range for the next 2-3 months here possibly, and then likely does make a bigger move later in the year, in the crop year, and early next spring and whatnot. But corn I think is kind of okay where it is right now.
LighthouseCommodities.com to learn more about this. They've merchandised over 50 million bushels of farmer grain each year, and they get paid like you get paid, so they're out there to get you more for sure. For folks watching, you have a Birthday Beacon shirt on, and for those listening, tell us why. What is that all about?
So that's a charity we started here a little over a year ago. It's taken on a life of its own. It's built on the idea that every kid deserves a birthday party. We find kids that may not get to celebrate a fun destination party, and we give them that. So if you share our beliefs that that's a good thing, if you follow us on social media, you can hear all kinds of great stories of kids and parents and whatnot sharing what it's meant to them to get a birthday party they might not have got otherwise.
It's a really, really neat idea. And, there's great charitable, a lot of great, heart giving out there of different ideas and things that are out there. But this one is really unique and wonderful, and something I think we take for granted, right? The kids have a birthday party. Of course they're going to have a birthday party. Invite friends, go out and have some pizza. It doesn't happen for everybody. So bless you and the team at Lighthouse Commodities for that wonderful thing. LighthouseCommodities.com. Anything else you want to tell folks? A little call to action here quick, David?
Oh, I think just everyone have a Merry Christmas. We might not be on next week, so we'll have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, we will. Christmas a week from today, and we'll crank up in the new year with our friends from Lighthouse Commodities. David Spickler, thank you. Listeners, thank you. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow for a Friday fun day.